or meeting?
It was the Southern African Development Council. The countries in Southern Africa, they've got their own kind of union, you know, like the East African and West African one, yeah. And they were making Mnangagwa the chairperson.
Okay, greetings. I think. Thank you, Sister, for that. Greetings to you all. I think we should be starting our class today. And yeah, we welcome those who are with us already, those who will be joining us, those who will be watching our recordings, and all those who will be coming across our content now or tomorrow or in future. We actually salute and appreciate your time and your commitment towards this study. And basically, we meet every Thursday, as usual, to read and share our thinking on the philosophy and ideology, the Pan-African philosophy and ideology for decolonizing Africa, written by Osaga for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, by the book called Consciencism, and it's the book we are reading here on the text screen. So as usual, we go around, we get somebody to do the reading, then we go around, and then we share our thinking. So the highlighted one is our reading for today. But I will read the paragraph before, which was our reading for the last class and discussion. And I'll ask Sister Tapua, having come back today at least, to read for us the paragraph for today. She's been out for some time. So let me read the paragraph for last time, which is the paragraph before the highlighted one. It says, Anaxagoras too can be exhibited as supporting an egalitarianism. Indeed, his theory of the unity of nature is in certain respects a more rigorous and close one than that of the monists. He did not affirm a mere identity of basic makeup. He put forward a theory of the participation of any one kind of object, in every other kind of object. In his philosophy, nature was more firmly united than in any other philosophy. The distinction between his view and that of the monist, if given social expression, becomes the distinction between socialism and democracy. Whereas in democracy, it is sufficient to affirm a mere egalitarianism. In socialism, it is necessary to affirm a convertible involvement of each in all. In other words, whereas the monists in social terms sought to transform an oligarchic society into a democratic one, Anaxagoras sought to transform a democratic one into a socialist society. So, Brother Carrington, please read for us the following paragraph. Sister Tapua just says she's in a noisy place.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Hope you're okay.
Good evening.
Yeah. Thank you. Indeed, once Anaxagoras had emphasized socialistic responsibility for each and all, for each for all, and all for each, the next step was to emphasize the intrinsic worth of the individual. Thus, a social progressive movement, which started with the supervention of a people, of a class, ended with the separating out, the cult of the individuals. It was left to the Sophists to achieve this. This phase was given its most definitive utterance in the Protagoran statement that man is the measure of all things. The universe had passed from the hands of the gods into the hands of men. This Protagoran view, which was quickly perverted by lesser minds into a grasping idealistic subjectivism. This Protagoran view, which was a passionate testimony to the new place of man in the scheme of things, was quickly perverted by lesser minds into a grasping idealistic subjectivism. In this transformed form, it was a claim that reality was a replica of the subjective will. Indeed, it was in this form that Socrates criticized it. It was necessary to destroy this idealistic subjectivism. First, because it was but a short step from it to solipsism, the view that only oneself exists and other things exist as one's experiences. And second, because in addition to damaging the possibility of science and the public and objective grounding of truth, it undermined the foundations of society. For it made social reality too dependent on the subjective will. The original attempt to redeem society by giving it a united foundation, by asserting the unity and brotherhood of man, now promised to destroy the society which it had set out to save. Egalitarianism desperately needed to be distinguished from anarchism, for anarchism is the political expression of subjective idealism. Thank you.
Carrington, hope you can still see my screen. Can you?
Yes, we can.
So I'm sharing. I'm trying to look for the Swahili version, because we always do the Swahili version reading as well. For those who might be either getting this recording on a Swahili version, can be able also to listen to it. But as even I look for this, I'm trying to check for. There's something I'm trying to check on in regards to what we said before. Brother Carrington, let me check what I'm sharing, because
Yes.
I'm having the two of them in my screen. So let me check first of all what I'm sharing. Okay.
You are sharing the passage.
Oh, the passage, the English version.
Yes, the English version.
Now let me read the Swahili version, which I can also. Or let me stop sharing and I share the Swahili version as I read it for the purpose of those who will be able to listen to it in Swahili, those who will be catching up our recording. We are doing this also just to bring part of, we have done this translation. We've done it via AI. I did the initial one, but we did another one via AI. So we have the two versions of it. So let me read this one. It says that, kwa kweli, mara Anaxagoras alikuwa amesisitiza jukumu la ujamaa kwa kila mmoja na wote kwa kila mmoja. Hatua inayofuata ilikuwa kusisitiza dhamani ya ndani ya mtu huyo. Kwa hivyo, harakati ya maendeleo ya kijamii ambayo ilianza na usimamizi wa watu juu ya darasa ilimalizika kwa kutengana. Ibada ya watu binafsi iliachwa kwa Sophists kufanikisha hili. Awamu hii ilipewa msemo wake dhahiri zaidi katika taarifa ya Protagoran kwamba mwanadamu ndiye kipimo cha vitu vyote. Ulimwengu ulikuwa umepita kutoka kwa mikono ya miungu mikononi mwa wanadamu. Mtazamo huu wa Protagoran, ambao ulikuwa ushuhuda wa kupendeza kwa mahali mpya pa mwanadamu katika mipango wa mambo, ulipotoshwa haraka na akili ndogo kuwa ujanja unaovutia. Katika fomu hii iliyobadilishwa, ilikuwa madai kwamba ukweli ulikuwa taswira ya utashi wa subjective. Kwa kweli, ilikuwa katika hali hii ambayo Socrates alimkosoa. Ilihitajika kuharibu ujanja huu mzuri. Kwanza, kwa sababu ilikuwa hatua fupi kutoka kwake kwenda kwa solipsism. Maoni kwamba wewe mwenyewe upo na vitu vingine vinavyopatikana katika uzoefu wa mtu. Na pili, kwa sababu pamoja na kuharibu uwezekano wa sayansi na umma na malengo ya ukweli, ilidhoofisha misingi ya jamii. Kwa maana ilifanya ukweli wa kijamii pia inategemea utashi wa subjective. Jaribio la awali la kukomboa jamii kwa kuipatia msingi wa umoja united, kwa kudai umoja na undugu wa mwanadamu. Sasa aliahidi kuharibu jamii ambayo ilikuwa imeamua kuokoa. Utawala wenye usawa, egalitarianism, ilihitajika sana kutofautishwa na utawala huria, anarchism, kwa sababu utawala huria ni usemi wa kisiasa wa mtazamo mzuri. That's the Swahili version. I know as much as many people might not be understanding this, is our wish to try our best to ensure that we bring this to our African or more of Swahili version, so that also we can reach out to those who might not also be knowing Puya Swahili, like the Tanzanian brother and the rest. So I'm back to the paragraph. Yes, let's start sharing our thinking. Welcome to all those who have joined us as we were doing the reading labs, and I see Papa SL, Sir WHK, and I think I saw Larry in, Dr. Larry. So welcome everybody who is with us here. Yeah, let's start with this. Brother Carrington.
Yes.
Will it be too early to ask you to share your thinking having read it just immediately?
I can try.
Yeah, try.
Yes.
I can also list some of the fundamental things that we are looking forward to.
Yes.
As we are trying even to share our thinking in regards. It's not that we are dictating what you think, because as usual, we allow members to share their thinking. In that way, we build together our thinking. But part of the key idea that came in is like, we want to check on this Anaxagoras theory of unity of nature and its connection to egalitarianism, the transition from democratic to socialist ideal, which we read last time, the danger of subjectivism, idealism and its impact in the society, and the importance of distinguishing between egalitarianism and anarchism. But Brother Carrington, start us off.
Yes, thank you very much, Brother Pigeon. Good evening, everyone. Good morning if you're somewhere very far in these corners of the world. We are talking about the development of basically Greek Western philosophy, trying to show how its evolution from theocratic origins through theocratic aristocratic origins through mercantile systems results in a form of socialism and egalitarianism, even in the case of very, very old societies like the Greek society, who had the privilege of documenting their philosophical and historical development. Now, in this passage, and we would really love to connect it with the previous passage, we are talking about the first section. The Osagefo is talking about the idea of social progressivism, the idea of all for one, that is all of society serving one individual, and one for all, that is the idea of one person or an individual serving society. This is just not very strange, not very far from the philosophy of Ubuntu. Okay? It is exactly the philosophy of Ubuntu expressed by ancient Greeks. Back to our body. So the liver serves the function of cleaning the bloodstream of toxic nutrients, and this benefits the entire body, including the liver itself, right? And the heart serves the liver by supplying it with energy through blood. The brain serves the liver by supplying it instructions. The stomach serves the liver by supplying it energy indirectly when you eat, and the liver serves the stomach. So you can see how this interconnected system is necessarily works well when all other organs are serving a single organ, and that organ is also serving all other organs, serving the system. And in a good body, this is roughly what happens. Now, similarly in society, the medicine man, the medicine woman, the prophet, the prophetess, the chief, the king, the queen, the teacher, the farmer, the peasant, the warrior, they all have their roles to serve in society. And similarly, they expect certain society to fulfill certain functions of them, to them. Security, belonging, stability, happiness, etc. So we are serving society as society serves us. Okay? Now, the problem comes in when you as a liver, you as a heart, start thinking that from your point of view, everybody, and it is true in a way, from your point of view, everybody serves you, right? The heart is serving you, the brain is serving you, the bloodstream is serving you, the stomach is serving you, the legs are serving you. The skin is serving you by protecting you. So you start thinking that you are the center of the universe. Because from your point of view, and it is true, everybody is serving you. So you become individualistic. You become subjective. You start seeing that reality is only as I perceive it. But similarly, the heart can start doing the same thing, that it is also the center. If it stops working, the body will stop working. But then the mind can say the same thing. If I stop working, the body will stop working. You see? Now, we get into trouble when we start to become individualists or subjectivists or idealists, that reality is what is in our mind. Or rather, reality is under the control of our brain. Our mind is the controller, is the chief control of reality. But this follows in a way, as the solipsists would argue, from the philosophies of Anaxagoras. It's an interpretation of the philosophies of Anaxagoras. How? It is an interpretation of the philosophies of Anaxagoras because it removes the center of the universe from the hands of the gods and put it in the hands of society. And therefore, if the center of the universe, man is a measure of all things, is in the hands of society, if in a way we are in control of our destiny, then is reality not subject to us? And this is the philosophy of the idealist. Now, Socrates, now we are, as we said earlier, we were talking about the pre-Socratics. Now Socrates has started coming in. When the solipsists start arguing that we are the center of the universe, just like the liver begins to think it is the center of the body. Socrates criticizes this, right? And there are two reasons why this philosophy of idealism, of subjectivism, idealist subjectivism, fails. One, yes, if you say that human beings are the center of all reality collectively, it is quite easy to say, wait, why all human beings? Why not just I? It is only I who am sure of my own existence. All these people I'm talking to, Brother Pigeon, Sister Ida, Sister Tapua, Brother Christian, all these people I'm talking to could be entirely figments of my imagination. I might be dreaming. And you fail into solipsism. So the Sophists, the arguments of the Sophists become solipsism. Because if society is the center of the universe and the individual is very important, it follows that the individual is the center of the universe. And this is the argument of solipsism. Now, second, if reality is entirely subject to your mind, it follows that whatever is scientific, whatever is real, is also subject to your mind. It is you who decides what is true and false. So if Donald Trump says anything, if Harris says anything, there is no difference anyone saying anything as long as they are confident of it, as long as they believe it to be true. What that does, it destroys the possibility of us even engaging in a discussion, in a debate like we are doing right now, or a discussion, because we cannot agree on the basis of reality. And this is a fundamental problem that is facing our modern world. Our basis, the basic of all physical reality, has been attacked by ideology. So, for these two dangers, Socrates attacks this idea of idealist subjectivism. And now the Osagefo finishes by the need to continue this project of saving this idea of egalitarianism from being destroyed by the individualists, by the idealists, by the subjectivists. Thank you.
Oh, that is a very startup at a high note. Once again, for those who have joined now, feel most welcome. This is what you do every day. We read a paragraph and we ask members to share their thinking. Whoever is trying to contribute here is just basically sharing how he or she thinks about this text. These are texts written by Kwame Nkrumah, this book Consciencism, and ours is to read through it and think, how do we see it? What's our thinking in regards to what's written here? Probably some people will say, how do you understand it? But basically, out of reading it and digesting it, what's your thinking about it? So feel free to those who have joined for the first time, go and reread this paragraph again. Brother Carrington has shared what his thinking is in regards to this, how he thinks about this text written here. Feel free also to share your thinking. Let me go to Brother Dr. Larry. I see your hand is up. Please, if you have a question, come in with the question, but also share your thinking on how do you see this text in regards to you as a person. Dr. Larry?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to thank all the previous presenter and for all the hard work they put into this. I think it has been done differentiating between egalitarianism and anarchism. I think that has been, the differentiation has been made and that has been probably touched on. But I want to talk about egalitarianism in a sense that I want to see how that could be applied or used as a means of helping the Western world to see where they stand. Now, let me start by saying Africa is known for its rich resources. And therefore, the only crime African has committed is how to exploit its resources. But if we now put the context of egalitarianism in place, which is the promotion of fairness and justice within societal structures, which is often advocating for systems that facilitate equal opportunities while recognizing the necessity of certain governing bodies to maintain order and protect each other's rights. Now, most African countries are fighting for their even sovereignty. And so therefore, sometimes, for example, taking Ibrahim Traoré, currently trying to say, even though we are small, we are a sovereign country and we should be respected. So the question for me is the Western world practicing anarchism or egalitarianism? And if they don't understand what that really means, in a sense, so I think as Africans, we need to find a way to help them understand. But not is, I mean, I don't want to be naive here to think they don't understand. Of course, they're fighting for their own survival. And they don't really care who they step on to get their daily bread. But I also think it tried to help them see things that, yes, if you need what we have, we're happy to practice sharing formula. Share with you, buy from us what we have, pay the price. For example, if Africans are coming to this country, they will have to get visa and pay for it not once, not twice, not 3 times, sometimes even exorbitantly. So we want to kind of say, okay, we are happy not to fight with you, to share what we have with you. Let's practice egalitarianism and promote each other's right. But we also have to understand what is involved, what is in it for us. So I think that is where education of the mind come in.
Yes, thank you.
We have seen, yeah.
Just proceed.
So okay,
proceed.
I can stop there so you can
proceed. We can't limit enough time. Proceed.
No, I just want to kind of quickly say that we know some of the white people are claiming white supremacy. But I wish they understand what it means to work together on a social level. So we're social animals. That's what I want to try and say. So I guess, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I've decided to go back to our previous text where we discussed egalitarianism. But first, permit me to say that
Okay.
from consciousness point of view, all human beings are equal. For all human beings came from the same.
That's right.
That's the point of view from consciousness. All human beings came from the same matter. And if, as you're saying, if the West could see it in that direction, that none of the West or whatever came from different matter, that all of us as human race came from the same matter, then we could actually treat each other, see each other as equal, a beginning of an egalitarian society. Of course, Nkrumah emphasizes in some of the readings up here, which I've highlighted, that like the first one, the idea of unity of nature as well as that of basic equality and justice is what required Thales to recognize the rule of thumb. So their rule of thumb, which where the majority of people who have powers rule over the poor. You see? That is not a fair. It's a rule the West try to apply to us, which is not a fair rule. Then it says egalitarian perceptions necessary for a mercantile economy led him to seek general forms of rule. When rules become general, they guarantee an objective impartiality. And impartiality is the outward mark of egalitarianism. Impartiality. And that then goes to the XML of justice. So, yes, as you're saying, it might be from the point of their understanding on, first of all, who are we as human beings? If we can see each other as where is our origin, and that's why we go back to realize that all human beings come from the same matter. But maybe I will try to ask Carrington, being more of a resident physicist for this class, if he can attempt to respond to some of what you've asked. If Brother Kwame was here, I could also ask him, but anybody also who's willing to try to attempt to answer what Dr. Larry has requested or put forth, feel free to do so. What you do is an attempt to share our answer based on our thinking. It's not basically sometimes might be factual, but we can use science a bit because the consciousness take consideration of science. So we can use science to respond. Brother Carrington, are you able to put forth your response to this? Or?
Yes, I got his point of trying to discuss how best to basically build cultural software for stable societies. But what was the specific question you asked, Brother Pidgin, to do with science?
What he's asking is, how do we help the Western society to see themselves in egalitarianism or apply egalitarianism in their approach to us as a people or even us as a human race?
Okay, if I will try to answer as a not as a scientist, but as a politician, maybe, or at least a student of politics or sociology. I think we Africans, for now, we have a lot to teach ourselves. So individualism is actually working more ferociously in Africa than in Europe, right? And a real individualist will take money for importing medicine, will take money for a factory manufacturing drugs, meant to help with manufacturing of drugs, and put it in his Swiss bank account. That is a real individualist, right? And therefore, there are more committed real individualists in the African continent than in Europe, especially in political leadership. So I would personally, this is my personal opinion, I would argue for us Africans first teaching ourselves what our ancestors had known for 300,000 years. That individualism does not get you very far. You need the tribe. Yes, I would first teach Africans. That's all I'm trying to say.
So basically, you're saying even in African context, we are not practicing egalitarianism.
We are more ferociously individualistic. Yes.
Which is more idealism in this case.
Yes, that the universe I'm the center of the universe.
Okay.
Who would own 7,000 acres of land if they didn't believe they are the center of the universe?
Okay. Dr. Larry, we will be giving our thinking response, or because people will share their thinking on the text. And if anybody in the process of sharing their thinking, feel free to also try to respond to the question you put forth. We will be happy for that. But as you've said, we are trying to share our thinking based on this text. So let me go to Sister Ida. Sister Ida?
I kept putting my hands up because I wanted to ask about solipsism. Solipsism. Because I'm not sure that I understand it very well. And I was glad that you also tried to remind us about egalitarianism. And from what I've heard said so far, it's the sharing. Oh, good. Brother Carrington, you did tell us something about solipsism, but it was a bit too quick for me to really grasp its meaning. So I see you got your hand up again. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much, Sister Ida. The story is usually something like this, that for me to understand, perceive, or see anything, it has to go through my brain, right? So
yes,
if everything has to go through my brain, and I know that I can imagine things, that my brain can come up with things that look, feel, even smell very, very real, and yet they're entirely the products of my imagination. How can I separate reality that is outside my mind from the reality, quote unquote, that my mind is creating? The solipsists would say something like, there is no such separation between what you imagine and what you perceive. And because of that, the only information you can be sure of, whether it exists or not, is your mind. You can be sure of almost nothing else, of actually nothing else. And that is the position of solipsism.
Thank you. I'd like to explain, of course, I've done a search on Google, but this was just to help you also see the philosophical concept of solipsism. But you also come across it in the first chapter when you're dealing with the philosophy in retrospect. Solipsism, as you can see in the chart here, is the philosophical idea that only one's mind is sure to exist. An epistemological position, solipsism holds that knowledge of anything outside one's mind is unsure, which means you are anything like maybe knowledge like pigeon is existing, or maybe knowledge that Carrington is existing, is unsure. It's not true. The only thing that is true is what is in your mind. And I think when we were doing this sometimes back, Brother Kwame used to have some simple example that the idealists do apply to. For example, the cow. Solipsists believe that only something in your mind exists. So the question we were asking is, how do your mind come to be? Can a mind exist without a body? And this is the argument most of the idealists have put forth as well. That either you existed as a spirit before you existed as a body, as a person. So the question is, if we talk about that anything in your mind is what exists now, where do your mind exist in? Does it not exist on a matter, a brain, something like that? Now you only believe that even the leg, the mouth, the body is not existing. Only your mind is what you believe exists. And anything outside your mind is an imagination. So you don't believe that even the hand exists. It's an imagination to you. That's what solipsists think about. And this lead them to more of individualism, because they only think of their mind. They don't think of anything else. And that is the clear, what you call hallucination. They are like it's illusion in one or the other. And that is solipsism. That's what creates a beginning of individualism. As Brother Carrington was saying, the rich who want to control everything else, where they think that the society serves only them, don't believe that anything exists as a problem in the society. It's only what they feel is like if they don't have water, it's the only thing they know that's wrong. But if they have water, they have food, they have good houses, tell them about poverty out there. They don't care. They don't know even whether it exists. Because to them, that's an imagination. The only thing real to them is what exists in their life. So if they are going to school, if they are having their choppers and aeroplane, that's the only thing they know is reality. But when they go to the other side of the country and tell them, you see, there are some people sleep without food. To them, that's a joke, and they don't care. It doesn't exist to them. So basically, that's the solipsism ideology or the solipsism mentality. Sister Ida?
Okay, thank you. Yes, it's I know we've come across it before, but it wasn't fully registering what it was. And so if it's just the fact that it's what's in the mind that exists to some people, it does help slightly explain this passage a bit more to me. Sorry.
So Kelly, share you are thinking the rest of the passage if you wish to.
I'll come back because I see there's a hand up, but I will try and pick a bit that will start me on what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you,
Sister.
Thank you very much, Sister Ida. We're looking forward to you coming back to share your thinking in regards to this. Comrade Modesta, can you unmute yourself, share your thinking in regards to this or any concern you want to raise? And I know you've been here now for the, I think, second or third time. Feel most welcome. Modesta, comrade? Comrade Modesta, your hand is up. Are you able to hear me so that you can unmute yourself? Okay. Once you are able, can you let me know so that you can come in? Let's go to Brother Sam, who was here earlier enough. Elder Sam, can you share your thinking on the text?
Thanks, Brother Pigeon, and everybody on the platform today. Yeah, I think I don't have much today, except that I still believe what Brother Carrington is saying. And I'm basing this on the question that was asked, that we should be trying to use this philosophy to educate our imperialist oppressors. And I think I share his view that instead of trying to educate them by sharing this philosophy, which they basically know and practice using it against us practically, we should be galvanizing ourselves. This is we must take our own total freedom and liberation, and in that way unite, and in that way make sure that the theories that our forefathers had, that they wanted us to practice and that they've given to us, Ubuntu being part of this communal way of us living and sharing whatever we have. That is the only way, once we can take over and be a united force, that we can be able to practically educate our oppressors. But without us negating what they are doing. Remember, we started a long time ago saying in 1884, they had what they call the Imperialist Charter. And if you go according to their charter, there's no room for them to learn anything from us. All they want to do is to take and take and take away from us. So I'm answering even the question that was asked by the doctor. But I'm saying also in these practical lessons that the philosophers are trying to show us, you know, there's a lot of pitfalls in a revolution. There's no perpetual revolution that other people tend to fall into. You know, in South Africa, after the during the Liberation War, we had theories that said we want to do apartheid government to be ungovernable. And those theories are still lingering post-independence or so-called independence in South Africa. Our people are still in that mode of ungovernability. They don't want to pay for services. They don't want to, because they are still in that mode of saying we taught them to make things ungovernable. So I think the philosophers are trying, or what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was trying to highlight, is that we need to be aware of this perpetual revolution, and we need to know that it cannot be there. Things like this need to, it's a phase. Everything is in phases. You do a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3. But every time you purify and modify whatever you have at hand. Thanks.
Thank you. Is it Comrade Modesta who wants to speak?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. My mic was muted.
Okay, kindly proceed. Share your thinking in regards to the text or anything you want to share with us.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask, do the two ideologies, these two ideas, egalitarianism and solipsism, are they based on the fact that all human beings are created and are equal? That's just my first question. Then, are they based on the fundamental foundations that all people are created, born, or are equal?
Brother Carrington, would you like to answer to that?
Yes, I'll try imperfectly. So I think these two, and I see how a form of materialist egalitarianism can lead to solipsism, but I think they are also in tension. So egalitarianism, you are right, sister, in saying that it comes from this idea that all are created equal, even if you don't specify who does the creating, that human beings are roughly equal, or roughly they should serve functions of dignity in society, and in reverse, society should afford all its participants some form of dignity. This is roughly the philosophy of egalitarianism. And if it implements this using forms of equity and equality. I'm sure most people know the differences of equity and equality. Solipsism is this idea that you are the center, because you cannot prove what the people you are interacting with or the things you're interacting with are real or not. Your mind is at heart the center of the universe. And for this reason, I feel it rejects egalitarianism, because it assumes that the existence of your specific mind is fundamental to all other possible minds and even reality itself. And for this reason, I suspect it rejects egalitarianism, because it thinks your mind is special.
Yeah,
Okay.
to my point,
so
let me,
Sister
Modesta, let me just come in a bit on this. Solipsism is idealist mentality and idealism principle, while egalitarianism is materialist mentality, which is materialist principle, where materialists look at all, the welfare of all is more progressive, while idealist is more conservative, that it only looks for individuals' welfare alone. And that's why it's more of what leads to what is called subjective idealism and anarchism, because it creates now the class structure and the differences in society. Yes, you can proceed.
Okay, I understand now. I asked that question in relation to like how like solipsism would be related to Darwinism, or that those are completely unrelated ideas. Because I believe that I was following others who were talking about solipsism forming the ideals of Western society today. And I understand that Western society, especially the United States, its economy and everything, its class structure is based on Darwinism, which is the principle of survival of the fittest. So when they are approaching even their own society and they believe in survival of the fittest, you are an individual. Yes, you might be born equal and you might be equal in the face of justice, but when it comes to equality of outcome, you are not equal because different people have different abilities. So they accumulate and build differently. Hence, they've got the right to material accumulation. And that then builds the base of a national economy where they accumulate because they believe we are the most biggest, brightest, the greatest, the most beautiful. Hence, if we conquer the world, if we accumulate, others are not accumulating, then we are justified to accumulating because Darwinism says survival of the fittest, and that's natural law. So that's where my question was coming from. Thank you.
Yes, that aspect of survival for the fittest brings the aspect of individualism. And that individualism is what's actually strengthened by solipsism. You only look for yourself to survive. And this is actually the bedrock of capitalism. And when you talk of egalitarianism, we then become the bedrock of socialism. When you look last time, if you can recall our paragraph last time, it was talking about democracy. We the white men are trying to, or the Western is trying to embrace. And let me just quote that paragraph a bit just to strengthen on this. What the author here, Nkrumah, is saying, he said that in example in democracy, what do the democracy tell us? That is the majority. That's what you know. Is the majority have the say? A government of the people, which means the majority of the people. But if you read that text, previous text says that, whereas in democracy, it is sufficient to affirm a mere egalitarianism. Democracy just affirm a mere equality of all the votes of all the people. In socialism, it is necessary to affirm a convertible involvement of each in all. Not just say that all our votes can, but how do that our vote convert to ensure that the decisions you make sense? And that's why you see it ends up by saying Anaxagoras sought to transform a democratic society into a socialist society. Hope that's also helped a bit. But let's proceed with also other members who are here. Yes? Okay. We've gone from Brother Carrington, gone to Sister Ida, we've gone to Sister Modesta. Brother Sam has also shared his thinking. Let me get to Sister Tapua. Let me know if you are in a place to speak so that I'll give you the space to do that. Let me get to General Anunnaki, who was also here early enough. Raspala. General.
Yes, son of the lake. Yeah, man. Yes, my Lord. That's it. Yeah, okay. No, man, I don't have long words to say, but what I'll say is that so far I've heard good words from my fellow African people. So from where I'm reading in the research based on this Sumerian mythology, in fact, the Sumerian history, we find that when our ancient ancestors, I'm quoting from those things that I'm reading there. So when our ancient ancestors came here on Earth, 445,000 BC, you see, they came here. Obviously, they were sent by the royal administration from the home planet. You see, come to mine gold in this planet. So now what happens, now I'm going to fast forward to my main point. So now what happens is that the two main brothers, which is Enki and Enlil, the older brother and the younger brother, they end up having descendants, sons. Now the younger brother ended up owning the Middle East, the place we call Middle East today. And then the older brother ended up owning the place we call Africa today. So now what happens is that now the children of the one who owns Africa want to own the spaceship portal that was there in that place called Mount Sinai, which is next to Egypt, that place we call Egypt now, that country. So now that place of the spaceships was owned by their sister, you see. It was not owned by the two brothers, see. So now what we see here, if I can relate to this, is that our ancient ancestors, they have a majority society of this one, egalitarianism, né? And then what happens is that now the participants of this society, which is our ancient African society, often had these characteristics of character flaws of ending up to be this second one. Now, what is this name of this second one? They ended up doing that one of idealism. Solipsism. Yeah, they end up having this issue of solipsism, né? Which is the one that ended up having these two factions of these two brothers, which is the younger one who owned Middle East and the one who owned Africa, having this nuclear war, which is now the one that is quoted in the Bible to be that one of Sodom and Gomorrah. Ne? So now that war now ended having a nuclear war, which resulted in this Sahara, in these deserts we have, are the results of nuclear fallout from our ancient ancestors who were fighting for the spaceship portal. So basically what I'm saying is that even though I might say Elton Krumah, when he wrote this thing, he knew the ancient history, even though it's not the Sumerian history, but he knew that the African history and the wisdom of our ancestors, even though we might have had misunderstanding between our ethnics or factions or families, but the foundation of the African society was more of this egalitarianism. Because, like I say to you, the ancient ancestors came from another planet to this planet to mine gold, to save the people from our home planet. So that already tells you that. So that's that system of one for all and all for one. So I'll just stop from there. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very interesting.
That's deep.
Yes. One day you'll have to present to us to this your study, because some might not be able to understand it or either know how it comes. But one day we'll look forward for you to either do it for us or on one of our Saturdays, probably. Hope
yes,
you'll
my
be
brother.
able to do that.
Sure.
Okay. I'll organize that, Brother General Anunnaki. Let me get to Sister Myra. Sister Myra?
Thank you, Brother Pigeon. But before I start, please allow me to welcome Brother Lakshad Changwa from Zimbabwe. You're very welcome. He is a member of the Zimbabwe Diaspora Development Foundation, and they're doing fantastic work
Yeah, welcome, comrade. It's an honor to have you. Thank you, sister. Yeah.
Thank you, comrade.
I think I can't top Brother Carrington. Sorry, I'm murdering your name. I can't top Brother Carrington's beautiful explanation. I feel like this paragraph is talking about how it started well. The Anaxagoras' philosophy started well. It was to do good for everyone, but then there were some elements that kind of just destroyed it and made it they corrupted it and made it into what seeded the Western philosophy that we see today. Has therefore built the Western systems that we are trying to undo. To speak to Brother Dr. Larry's point, he's right. In his book, Paulo Freire, called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, he said that in the oppressed fighting for their liberation, they should also work very hard that when they get their liberation, they do not become the monsters that their oppressors were. That they should remember that the oppressors themselves need help to realize that when they dehumanize others, they also harm their own humanity. Okay.
Sister Mara.
Yes.
Hold it there. I want to come in just there before you leave it, because I know you want to go out of that quote. Now, take that critical example on what goes on in maybe Kenya and this government, the regime, that other oppressors do all that they do to us. Now, when we, the younger revolutionary, take over power, how do you think we should help liberate them?
Okay. So let me continue, and maybe the answer to that question will be in what I'll say next. So I was going to say that, but then I also agree with Brother Carrington's opinion that we should first of all work on ourselves, right? Hang on, Brother Pigeon. We should first of all work on ourselves, because we have inherited the Western attitudes, the way they look at the way they look at the world, the way they look at materialism. I don't mean this philosophical materialism. I mean wealth, material things. We want them. And so there's a lot of corruption. Everything, the way it's really diabolical. So we have to also, first of all, work on ourselves, because to not look at our oppressors and want, like you've asked, Brother Pigeon, and want to do something, that will take a maturity in ideology, in self-understanding, in spirituality, a change of mind, right? So my answer to you, Brother Pigeon, is perhaps we could, when you, the younger generation in Kenya, come in, you'll be able to change the justice system to justly judge what these corrupt cronies have done. But in the long run, let us as Africans, Black Africans, continue to work on ourselves, right? And then it will be the future generations, because I don't think these oppressors are going to change now because, they want to be good. They also need work, like we're working on ourselves. Then it will be up to our future generations, our great-great-great-great-grandchildren, our descendants. If we do the work now, perhaps then there will be the missionaries that will come here in Europe to teach Ubuntu, to teach egalitarianism. But for now, we can have short-term solutions and say we should restructure, revolutionize our justice systems. But in the long run, we have to first work on ourselves, change the education system, like Brother Dr. Larry was saying. But we have to educate ourselves, enlighten ourselves, work on ourselves. And also, comrades, in our work, we have to be aware that in our lifetimes, we may not be able to see the changes that we're fighting for, but always when you're working, think about the future generation, work for them, look at your children, think about their children and their children. That is what we're working for. Because when we're rebuilding this time, it is not short term. No. We are building generational foundations. That helps. So then, if we do it right, then we'll be able to help our oppressors. But if we don't, then we'll just go back in cycles. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Sister Myra. Well, let's continue sharing our thinking in this. But yes, as you've highlighted, it's very clear. Egalitarianism. Are we egalitarian as a people? And even if, as you say, we take over power, will we express egalitarianism to those who oppressed us before? Because if we don't, they were not egalitarian. They were solipsists. They were idealists. They were using all that form of whatever they were trying to use to see themselves more higher in terms of hierarchy of beings than us as the subjects or the general people. So then they applied it on us. when we take over, do we actually express egalitarianism to them as a principle to rule the continent, or will we also take ourselves to the higher ranks of solipsis again and try to look at them as subjects again to be attacked or to be actually pay revenge on it? Because there's this aspect in this book here in the last line which says that the original attempt to redeem society by giving it a united foundation, by asserting the unity and brotherhood of man, now promised to destroy society which had set out to save. Egalitarianism desperately needed to be distinguished from anarchism, for anarchism is the political expression of subjective idealism. So let's proceed. Let's continue giving our thinking and sharing our thinking. Those who have joined us, feel most welcome. What we do, we have read the paragraph that's highlighted, and we ask you to please have time to read it before we end. We still have around close to 40 minutes. So read that paragraph and feel free to share your thinking with us. How do you think in regards to that paragraph? Let me get to, on my list, I'll go to Papa SL. Papa SL. Then I go to Sir WHK. Papa SL, are you able to unmute yourself and share your thinking and probably introduce yourself? I believe it might be the first time or either you're joining with another account. Papa SL? Okay, let's go to Sir WHK.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, comrade.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on this platform again. And I have to tender my apology that I didn't have time to read through the pages that you have suggested there, but from the conversation as I have followed, I need to understand that thing again. Is it solipsism or... We have said before, I understood it to be what is perceived in the mind is what you know best. Or what is formulated in your mind is what you can attest to at best. It's really beating me. And are we saying egalitarianism is the antithesis of anarchism? Maybe those two contributions would be enough.
Thank you. Thank you for those two. I don't know, we'll be trying to come in and help. But yes, solipsism, I think one of the famous quotes we met by the idealists in the previous chapter was this famous quote. They say, I think, therefore I am. So who are you? I think, therefore I am. So
please repeat that again.
Yeah, there's that aspect of solipsist, which was the idea of Berkeley. I think it was Berkeley, sometimes back in the previous chapter we read. And the argument that was considered to be more solipsist was the aspect of somebody saying, or them claiming that, I think, therefore I am. So you are because you think, which means your existence exists in your mind, in your thinking. So basically, that is where the solipsism came well properly. But Brother Carrington, kindly come in. I see you wanted to say something.
No, it was Spinoza, Baruch Spinoza.
Is the one who said, I think, therefore I am.
Yes, yeah.
And that is solipsism.
It's a form of solipsism. He was trying to say that the base of all existence or the base of all probability of any existence is the mind. That is a form of solipsism, yeah.
Yeah, and when you get to this aspect here, where the paragraph says the universe had passed from the hands of gods into the hands of men.
Just to mean that theocratic societies believe that God created the universe. Only God can understand the universe, omniscience, and only God can control the universe, fundamentally omnipotence. That's why you pray to God, for example, to Oh, Descartes. I'm so sorry. Coco is right. It's not Spinoza, it's Descartes. Yes, it's the French guy. Yes, Coco is right. Yeah, René Descartes. Yes, yes. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Yes, yes. So anyway, that group, that philosophy of putting the universe in the hands of God is replaced by this philosophy that the universe, if understood by man, can be controlled by man or people. Yeah. So that's just the idea. That's the basic idea. Demonstrated using nuclear weapons, laptops, electromagnetism, etc. Yeah.
Okay, so I think WHK, the aspects of solipsism can come clearly to you as you understand it. Solipsism, live about the mind, is about the approach or the attitude of somebody who is solipsist. Somebody who is solipsist think about himself as the only thing existing. So if they have to go for property, they take everything just for themselves. They don't care who else is going to miss or what's going on. It's them for themselves. It's individualism in practice, pure individualism. That's solipsism. While egalitarianism, as you've said, is different. It's what looks at everybody equal. Now, if you apply the equality, which is the impartiality, which they have said is the outward look of egalitarianism, then can you take everything for yourself? That's no. So that then opposes the solipsism ideology. Now, this aspect you've asked on egalitarianism and anarchism, probably if anybody is willing to share this, they're thinking in regards to this as well. Brother Carrington, if you're willing, or anybody else, let me know. As the question you have asked on the egalitarianism vis-a-vis anarchism.
Okay, so what is anarchism in the context of this passage? Anarchism comes from the idea that if I am the center of society and I am the center of the universe, i.e. idealist subjectivism stroke solipsism, then it means that I am in charge of myself fundamentally. I am accountable only to myself and nobody else. And therefore, the logical end of, sorry, Brother Pigeon, the logical end of individualism is that I can govern myself. And therefore, everybody is their own government. And that is the definition of anarchy, i.e. you are subject to your rules alone.
So there are those people above the law. So
everybody is their own law. So everybody is above the law.
So can this be difference in the aspect of up there when we are talking of the rule of thumb and the general rule? The general rule that then brings egalitarianism and impartiality, or the rule of thumb the other side?
Egalitarianism considers that people are created equal fundamentally, although may serve different roles in society, people are fundamentally equal, and therefore everybody should be subjected to a certain standard, a certain governmental system that is above them, because everybody is equal. So they are direct opposites. So everybody is their own government. Everybody should be subjected to a government. These are fundamentally different things. Yeah. Okay, although anarchists would argue that it also follows from egalitarianism. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll go to Brother Coco. Let me look at my list of Sister Tapua. Okay, Brother Coco, come in, then I'll go to Brother Simon Shibi. We are still left with some few people who haven't shared their thinking, and I'd like them to share their thinking before we end. Brother Coco.
I wasn't intending to share my view right now. It's more of to add to what Brother Carrington was saying. Anarchists, they come from anarchy, lawlessness, state of disorder, in short. When there's anarchy, there is no central command. Everybody is there doing their own thing. And anarchists believe that government is infringing on their rights for independence, in short. So they want to break away and have no government, all right? Which is different from egalitarianism. Egalitarianism is more or less like Ubuntu, where we say, I am because we all are, because we are looking after each other. But with anarchism is different. We expect that everyone else will take care of themselves, and that way, then it will work. The subtle difference is that you don't care what the other one is doing. Whereas in egalitarianism, you care how what you're doing is affecting others, and you also know that you're all interconnected.
Thank you, Brother Coco, for that. Somebody your hand was up again. Lakshad. Lakshad.
Yes. Oh, thank you. I just want to say I agree to the previous speakers to some extent. But first of all, I must say thank you, comrades, for organizing such a platform. It's quite interesting. And going to my facts, I just want to say yes, to a certain extent, I agree to the previous speaker who said there is chaos. No, let us remember there are different proponents to these philosophies or to these theories. To start with, the egalitarianism, the difference between the two is that the first one, they believe everyone is equal and everyone should have equal rights, but they should submit them to a form of a government. And then the second one, they still believe everyone should have the equal rights, and let's abolish all the rules and regulations in form of government. But there's no chaos because they think human beings are so capable of approaching and cooperating with one another so that there's greater peace and order. That's all I wanted to say. But the rest, I do agree. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that perspective into the conversation. Sisaida, I want to go to Brother Simon Chibi.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say that it sounds like anarchism is the extreme of solipsism, from what has just been said. So that was all I was going to say. So you can go on to Brother Chibi. Thank you.
Thank you for also sharing that. We'll have to see how we build up on those thinkings or those thoughts so that you can lead to somewhere. Brother Simon. Brother Simon? Okay. Brother Simon, if you are able to speak, just let me know so that you can speak. Let me go to Papa SL. Are you able to speak? You didn't unmute yourself when I called your name. I'm trying to end the list of those who have to share their thinking. We always ask members present to share their thinking in the text. This is not a lecture hall where we lecture. We actually, all of us share what we think, and in that way we build our thoughts and we become more conscious as a people. That's what we do here. So there's no teacher here, there's no student. We are all trying to share our thinking and learn together. If that's not possible, then let's go to Brother Pichau. Brother Pichau. Pichau. It's been a long time. Happy to see you around. Welcome, and please share your thinking with us if you are able to do so.
Greetings, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is what it is, it's about, well, we're talking about, let's say, our roots and culture. It's about, if we study our roots and culture, we come to realize that, yes, Ubuntu. So it is, something that is eco-medical, socio-political. And then, and that's the way of life, that I've been accustomed to. And so is to come into a oneness and I have a rule of law that allows, that's, order, law and order based on our roots and culture, literally, which is interesting. In terms of the arts and sciences of how things, are supposed to be. And so being said, consciencism, comes, within that. So yeah, that's what I would say. Thank you. Thanks.
So you accept this aspect of in the first line that each for all and all for each.
Well, Ubuntu says, I am because we are,
So I
and
is
because we are, therefore I am.
Yeah, I is each and we is all. So each for all I am because we are because I am.
Okay, and the same, the Ubuntu say, I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am.
I am, yes, that is it. So then that also brings the aspect that we are all equal. Because if I can consider that I am because you are, it means we are equal.
Well, this is why I'm saying that this is originally our culture, roots and culture, in terms of knowing who we are, under the sun. And so how we are, it is about each one, teach one. It is about, being, oneness, again, being in alignment of the one or the most high, some may say. And so, yeah, I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. Ubuntu.
Thank you for that. Because I see the second text in the same first line, the second sentence says, thus a social progressive movement which started with the superinvention of a people over a class. So it's us, there's no class over us, ended with separating out the cult of individualism. Because as in the spirit of Ubuntu, with the word said up there, that I am because you are, and you are because I am, there's no individualism there. We are a communal society. So I consider that my existence is because we as a community are. That brings that aspect of community in us. It's not an individualism. And that is now what he says, that became the social progressive movement that now ended up killing the class in the society. So it's the people. There's no classism that you are up on me, you are on top. There's an hierarchy, you are either a king or whatever. But we are a community, and I exist as a community, not as an individual. Okay. I see. Let me check. I know Sister Tapo has been throwing so many questions in the chat. Please feel free to respond in the chat or even respond via here. I'll be reading some of them out. Before I go back to you, Brother Cook, unless it's either in response to what is going on, I am left with two people who haven't shared their thinking. There's Mfanelo and Raymond Amfaire. So, Brother Coco, go first, and then I'll go to Mfanelo.
Thank you. Just to remind all of you that I think the speaker who spoke after me refuted my assertion that anarchy means a state of disorder, a state of chaos, no government. In short, it's what it is, but the origin comes from Greek, which is against government, of course, no chief. I think that's what it says. But under Ubuntu, we say a chief is a chief by the grace of his people. The same as we say another one human being is that human being because of the other human beings. All right. And you are only human because you are uplifted by your fellow humans. At the same time, you uplift your humans in a way. So there is that we hold each other to account in a way. We are responsible for each and everyone. But under anarchy, we expect that human beings have a will, free will, and with that free will and responsibility, they should be able to take care of themselves. And he agreed with me, I think, on that part. But here, you have to realize that we were coming from a system which was based on gods, and then we moved to a system which was based on people, and the people were now managing to manage their affairs. They knew how to bend the materials to themselves and the spirits to themselves. But what is interesting here is that instead of that working out for the community as a whole, you find certain individuals taking over. The individualistic bit comes in, is the same, I think, everywhere. If you follow the revolution started not in Russia, as most of us think. Revolution happened in France, the French Revolution. But after the French Revolution, certain individuals took over, and it became again a hierarchical system where we were having to work towards certain goals, certain chiefs. Again, that's why there it says it's no longer for the people. The system which was meant to serve the people has now been toppled by, again, those who want things for themselves. That individualistic, idealistic subjectivism. But the end there is again trying to show that there is a difference between egalitarianism and anarchism. And where we want to go is where every one of us is accountable to everyone in here. Each and every one of us is accountable to every one of us. But it's the same, it's the same. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've decided to look for the Google search anarchism in a political philosophy. Anarchism is a political philosophy and a movement that is against all forms of authority and seeks to abolish the institutions it claims maintains unnecessary coercion and hierarchy, typically including the state and capitalism. Anarchism advocates for the replacement of the state with stateless society and voluntary free association. As historically left-wing movement, this reading of anarchism is placed on the farthest left of the political spectrum. That's what Google is saying. It helps a bit. Let me proceed with a few people whom I was to call before we now go to any other person who might want to come in as well. So, Mfanelo, can you come in and share your thinking with us in regards to the text?
Greetings. Yes. Greetings. Can you hear? Am I audible?
Yes, you are clear.
All right. Greetings to the kings and queens in the house. Yes, I love the great minds in our midst. Look, for me, every one of us is wearing their own spectacle in how we review and judge and what we prefer. So for me, I will speak from my own spectacles. So in my own spectacles, I recognize the lowest form of governance and institution as family, simply because, human beings are sovereign. They're sovereign beings. That means no human is meant to rule over another human. It's just never. That's not the design. So, however, humans are designed to collaborate, to live in harmony, in fellowship. So for me, the first of this kind of partnership happens when a man and woman decide to go, take ground, territory for themselves, and build, So for a family to happen, the couple needs to have territory to build their shelter and put fence. And within that fence, it's a jurisdiction. That means within this fence, I am then the couple makes laws and rules. So there is governance. So the governance is in the collaboration of this man and woman, and they set laws that are governing the jurisdictions of their fences. So when they raise children, sons and daughters, they will then teach them those rules. And if they have learned certain trade, we are good as in this field. Maybe we are builders, maybe we are farmers, maybe we can work with metals, we are blacksmith, maybe we are healers, maybe we are musicians. So whatever then the couple like has chosen in terms of their DNA, their gift, because every human being comes with a particular gift and skill. Because of that, that's where the collaboration happens with the neighbors. Because if I was just living alone with my wife and raising our own sons and daughters, I would have limitation. In other words, I may just be gifted as a healer. Now, what is good? What good is my gift if I cannot have a neighbor? That now I must reach agreements and trade and transact with that, that talent. So I believe, therefore, that if I am a singer, that singing is no good if I just sing in my house for my daughter and my kids. I then need to actually take this skill and serve other families around a community. So I don't believe human beings were meant to be islanders, to isolate. I believe in families that, within the bounds of my property, I have sovereignty to be the king and a judge and make rules and be the one who ensure those rules are complied to, and drill that to my sons and daughters. And I don't believe another man who is my neighbor must come into my jurisdiction and tell me what to do with my kids, tell me what to do with my field, with my cattle, with my staff. No one has a right to come and tell me what I must do with my house. I have sovereignty and rule on my jurisdiction. Neither can I go next door and tell the neighbor. However, we can collaborate with the neighbor. So based on neighbor's permission and agreement, we can say, neighbor, I have a specialist, I have knowledge in healing. So I see that your cattle, they have this disease, or I see that your house is cracking, or I see that this is the problem. I can solve, I have a gift. So would you mind if I help you? I share the knowledge, and that's how we trade. So I think, therefore, if you look at that model, the lowest institution is family. Before you have any other thing, no government, no president, nothing. So the thing that brings life to earth, the institution that brings life to earth, is a agreement between man and female, man and woman, to set up camp and build. Now, based on that, there is a balance in what kind of a system it is. So it's not anarchy because there are rules. It's who sets the rules. And again, the balance is that the families are sovereign as individuals, but they need to collaborate. So when they collaborate as a community, then you start choosing how you're going to govern the common property, our roads, our common and public property. How are we going to live and share that? Now, those laws and rules that we can then set up in Africa, we have an assembly. We have all the men of the various houses gather by this crawl and sit and have a say in what we do as a community. And they discuss problems, they rule over matters, disputes, they facilitate transaction if there's sale of anything, there's agreement, there's public declaration of these things in an assembly of men. Now, men may then choose to have a leader that will represent them in other forums, in other jurisdictions with the neighboring community. So which then facilitate the appointment of a induna, someone as a spokesperson for this community to the next community. That's how it is. So therefore, there's always governance, collaboration in that way. That's my view.
Thank you.
So I'm going to park there.
Thank you for bringing that perspective. Yes, it begs now the question, if anarchists or the anarchism, as it said, do not want any rules, is there anywhere where rules don't exist, whether they are formal or informal? As you've clearly stated it, even in our marriages, there are rules that make up marriage, and it's the rules that then begin to regulate people. So is there individuals who can exist without rule, unless you are an individualistic person, unless you are solipsist, where you think about yourself, but then who can live alone? without interacting to have a wife, without interacting to have anything else. So as long as that aspect is being brought here in the aspect of anarchism, and which also Brother Carrington said, these are people who tend to think that they are alone. But no one can exist alone. No one can be individual in their own spaces. Because at the end of the day, you have to interact. You have to get a woman, then start give a family, or you have to interact with the shopkeeper, or even your gateman, or even your child. In one or the other, as long as there's interaction of more than one person, then rules must come in. Whether how those rules are set up or anything that exists, but there'll always be a mode of operation between the shopkeeper and the farmer and the banker. There must be something that regulates how the farmer convert their produce into money and the banker give back the money. And if we want to claim the idealism, that is subjective idealism. If you have to move to that subjective idealism of trying to pretend or assume that we can exist as individuals and we remain individual alone, then surely tell me, does it mean in that you are individualistic perspective, you'll not interact with any humankind outside your setup? And that's what clearly it begs another question as we try to look at these idealism and egalitarianism and anarchism. I want to go to Raymond, but Laxad, you can come in before I move to Raymond. Raymond is the last person. Oh, there's Dr. Dose who has been spoken. Raymond, Laxad, just be brief so that I can move to Raymond.
Myself?
Yes, Laxad, please.
Okay, thank you. No, I think we are misunderstanding anarchists. They are not saying there are no rules. They try to abolish the government because they perceived government as a suppressive entity. So for people to live freely, when we want to pronounce, the rights to freedom, then there should not be something that limits you, that monitors you, as we have it today. So they are saying, there's a brother who spoke, so frankly about it, and I subscribe to his thinking. The one who mentioned about my family, but I cannot sing for myself. That's the thinking that raised. We have capabilities, we have abilities. I cannot exist on my own. I have to recognize the existence of my neighbor. Let's cooperate. So I don't see why you say there are no rules. There is respect for individuality. When I recognize my neighbor, to say my existence alone is not enough, I have to understand, to recognize that my neighbor exists. And for me to exist, I have to cooperate with him without anyone saying, hey, we are on top of you, we govern you, here are the rules. So that's the difference. There is law and order, sorry to say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that, which of course we'll have to exploit in our next class, because what is the origin of a government? If the government has to be for the people, then who creates government? Is the people. Then why the people also see that government now control them and the government is a creation of them? But that's a discussion for another day. Let me get to Brother Raymond first. Brother Raymond?
Yes, thank you so much. About your last question on the issue of government, I think we as comrades can explore the origins of the social contract theory and try to look at it as we appreciate the issue of whether the government is for us or whether it is against us, and and whatnot. It's interesting to hear what sentiments the comrades have on this platform when it comes to the issues of unity, looking at solipsism and then egalitarianism, but then also looking at anarchism and the small chasm that's between the three. I believe the best distinction would exist between solipsism and then solipsism versus egalitarianism, and then anarchism, an anarchist state of living versus one that has a rules-based, kind of system. The last comrade, I think, to submit was of the opinion that being disorderly, but rather having no government. I believe that when we explore what a government really means, then we shall come to the understanding of things like the government being there to, keep law and order, promoting the rule of law, which is now a rules-based kind of governance system that now goes back to, again, what we are saying, have order, okay? Order, we have been looking at order as the opposite of anarchism, although he posits that anarchism is not the state of disorderliness, but rather a state of having no government or dismantling the government. But when we explore them, we shall actually find that, there is that small thread that intertwines all those theories together, and it will be an interesting discussion to look at. And then maybe one last thing. I have shared the video, a link to a video in the comments to a comrade who corrected Brother Carrington on the issue of René Descartes. I think we can try to look at it as a group. It's a speech by PLO. I have shared it before on the study group platform, I think over a year or a year and a half back. But then for the benefit of new members on the platform, I believe we can look at it again. It calls for Africa to wake up, and again, goes to the issue of the mind. If your mind is conquered, then you're going nowhere. And then he cites René Descartes, the great René Descartes, who says, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, and so on and so forth. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. The last person is Dr. Dose. Dr. Dose? Dr. Dose? Dotse. Dr. Dotse, are you able to share your thinking in regards to what you've been reading and what you've been sharing? Dr. Dotse? Let me know. Okay. If Dr. Dotse is not able to share his thinking, let me come towards the end of this by just reading briefly what we'll be doing next time, just to bring that attention to you so that you can join us. In our next class, we'll be proceeding with the paragraph below. And briefly, the paragraph says that Socrates consequently made it its duty to destroy this form of the Protagoran maxim. His social aim in seeking this destruction was to restore the objectivity of society. Socrates, too, was a firm theoretical believer in egalitarianism. He exemplified this in his whole life by his unwavering contempt for pomp, circumstance, and humbug. He has left us an undying testimony of his egalitarian belief in his use of the slave boy in the Meno. In the Platonic dialogue, Socrates tries to prove the disincarnate existence of the soul and the innateness of certain ideas of mathematics and ethics. In selecting a slave boy for the purpose of his proof, he showed that he held a belief in common and equal nature of man. These beliefs activate Socrates' whole philosophy. He believed in the equal endowment of all with innate ideas, the equal ability of all to lead a good life. Knowledge, he said, was a virtue, and knowledge, he further held, was innate, learning being a fact of a way of remembering what was already engraved upon the individual's soul. That will be our discussion for the next class. And therefore, feel free not to miss this interesting conversation as we learn together and proceed together. Without much ado, permit me to say thank you for your attendance. And Sister Myra, maybe you can end for us this session for today. Sister Myra?
Thank you, Brother Pigeon. Thank you, everyone, for the very, very lively discussion. I'm sure we'll all go away with thoughts. And that's the whole idea of these sessions, to get us thinking and to get us talking and working towards our goal of Pan-Africanism. And just to take us into the real world as we all go back to our real lives. Right now, there's a breaking story that says that the US, which is, we all know, is the greatest imperialist power right now, is backing the creation of 2 permanent UN Security Council seats for Africa. So, my comrades, kings and queens, if the stingy old man that causes destruction everywhere is suddenly becoming very generous, then we must be doing something right. So that is to say, onwards and upwards, let us keep fighting and we'll get there.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Sister Mara. We are having our class on Saturday, this coming Saturday, which is actually our Africa Unification session. We invite you to come over. There was a presentation on the indigenous, of course, education setup by Professor Oluwafemi. We are still looking forward to do a part 2 of it. Probably may do a rebuttal on that this coming Saturday. But basically, Saturday becomes our usual day to discuss the Africa unification. So we try to look at the all forces at play in Africa. Are we moving towards unification, liberation, and development of Africa? As that's the biggest vision of all Africa, that we must unite beyond these neo-colonial territories. We must liberate Africa out, or liberate Africa from all these colonial or neo-colonial yoke that is still on us. And if we achieve to unite and liberate Africa, then Africa can realize its true development and Africa can be great again. That's a conversation we have on Saturdays. People share their news from wherever we are, and we analyze what's going on in Uganda, in South Africa. Is it really showing us that you're moving towards unity as a continent? If not, then what must be done? What must we do as a people so that we can foster the discussion towards the unity of a continent? The next Thursday, we'll proceed from here where we left it, and then all the recording will be available by Monday or Tuesday. I'll share the links for all the recording, and you can check on our YouTube channel anytime to get all our past recording. We have uploaded over 140 of any of our classes that have passed since we started this reading, and we will continue uploading all of them for you to catch up and just review. So thank you very much for those who have joined for the first time, those who are joining us for the second time. Feel most welcome. Those who have been here for almost 3 years, like Sister Ida, we appreciate your patience. Those of us who have joined for the last 1 year, and those who have been in this discussion for the last 10 years, like Brother Christian, we all appreciate. Let's sit together and start learning together, because the war is won on the battle room, not in the battlefield. The war is out there, but if we don't prepare enough in the battle room, study and be conscious enough, we might fail to execute the right move on the battlefield. Thank you very much, comrades, and let's meet again next Thursday or this Saturday. Thank you very much to you all. I'll share all the recordings anytime once they are out.
Thank you. Bye. Good night, all. Night.
Kings and queens.
Bye-bye.